This is a story of a Saturday evening in Augusta. More specifically, this is the story of a drop, a text message, and the butterfly effect of one of the strangest moments in one of the greatest careers in golf. It was 6:33 p.m. at Augusta National when Tiger Woods stood over his third shot on the par 5 15th hole. He faced an 87-yard approach, the shadow of Augusta's pine trees surrounding him, with a chance to take the solo lead at the Masters. But before we get to what happened next, let's rewind to set the scene. Two weeks prior to Augusta, Tiger won the Arnold Palmer Invitational. It was his 8th win at Bay Hill, but more importantly, it meant he regained his place atop the official Golf World Rankings, a position he hadn't held in more than 3 years. He was back, on top of the mountain, the best golfer in the world. The slump in his life and career appeared to be over. 3 years earlier, almost to the day, Tiger stood at PGA Tour Headquarters, not accepting a trophy, but rather accepting his fate and apologizing for his transgressions following a series of events that shed light into his private life. Despite winning 7 times in 2009 and being light years ahead in the world rankings, Tiger was forced to take time away from the game in his peak. After a break of nearly 6 months, Tiger Woods returned to golf at Augusta National and the 2010 Masters. A return that prompted Billy Payne, chairman of the Masters Competition Committee, to face the press and tell the world, "Our hero did not live up to the expectations of the role model we saw for our children." Despite all the attention on his return, Tiger shot 11 under par for 4 days, finishing 4th, and watched as Phil Mickelson, his longtime rival on tour, slipped on his 3rd green jacket. Back to 2013. Tiger was back at Augusta, back on top of the golfing world and favorite to win the Masters. He opened with a round of 70, which put him 4 shots back of Sergio Garcia and Mark Leishman in a tie for 13th. Having teed off early on Thursday, Tiger was playing late in the day on Friday, and playing well. By the time he reached the 15th hole, he was 3 under par for the day, 5 under par for the tournament, and tied atop the leaderboard. A wayward drive off the tee left Woods in the pine straw, right of the fairway, and forced him to lay up. He now faced a 3rd shot of 87 yards to a left pin, with a chance to take the lead at the Masters. As the crowd swarmed towards the closing holes, Tiger struck his lob wedge and sent the ball toward the flag. Literally. The ball struck the flag about 2 feet above the hole and ricocheted back to the left and into the pond short of the green.
Oh boy. How unlucky. How unlucky.
The half-inch width of the flag may have just cost him the lead at the Masters. In fact, a caddy would later suggest that there was something different about the flag sticks in 2013. All the players and caddies were talking about it, said the veteran caddy, who requested anonymity. They were like twice as thick as usual. I had a feeling someone was going to get a bad break and have a ball bounce hard off the flag. We should note that an Augusta spokesman denied the flags were any different. With Tiger's Nike ball making its way to the bottom of the pond short of the green, he was faced with 3 options under Rule 26-1. He could play from the designated drop zone area short of the lake. However, Tiger took a look at it and later said he didn't like the grain or the lie of the drop zone, so he chose against this option. Option 2. He could drop the ball, keeping the point where it last crossed the margin of the water between the hole and the spot he drops. However, because the ball rebounded backwards and left off the flag, the angle would mean his drop would be too far left to take relief in this option. Option 3. He replays the shot from as close as possible to the spot from which the original ball was played, and takes a 1-shot penalty. Having assessed all options, Tiger chose this option. He took his drop, replayed the shot, and got up and down for a bogey 6. He would go on to bogey the 18th hole as well, and record a second round 71, leaving him 3 shots back of the lead and tied for 7th going into the weekend. Or so we thought. This is where the story takes its turn. Watching the Masters from home was David Eager, a 62-year-old former professional who had long been one of golf's preeminent rules experts. Eager was watching the second round of the Masters at home in South Carolina. When Tiger was on the 14th hole, Eager's wife asked him to help her in the garden, so Eager pressed record on his TV. When he came back, he saw that Tiger had dropped a shot on the 15th hole and was curious how. He rewound the footage and watched Tiger's shot and subsequent drop. The thing I saw immediately, Eager said, was that there was no divot hole when Woods played his 3rd shot, but when he dropped the ball to play his 5th shot, he was several steps in back of an obvious divot hole. I kept replaying it to make sure I was seeing it correctly. I realized he had played from the improper spot. There was no doubt it was a penalty. At 6:59 p.m. that evening, Eager sent a text message to Mickey Bradley. Bradley was a PGA Tour rules official, who Eager knew was working at the Masters. He explained what he saw in detail. Bradley read the message but had already left the course for the day, so he forwarded the information to Mark Russell, the tour's vice president for rules and competition, and then called Fred Ridley, the chairman of Augusta National. At this stage, the clock was ticking. Tiger was about 15 minutes from finishing his round and signing his scorecard, possibly with an incorrect score on the 15th hole. Bradley said that Ridley definitely knew that this had originated with David Eager. And for Ridley and Eager, there was history. In 1989, Fred Ridley was captain of the U.S. Walker Cup team in Atlanta. A 37-year-old amateur named David Eager was on Ridley's team. As the story goes, Eager conceded a short putt during the opening day foursomes matches, and was later admonished by his captain for doing so. 9 years later, Eager was playing in the U.S. Open at Olympic Club. During a weather delay, Eager began practice putting on the 7th green. He was approached by a rules official who suggested he was breaking a rule. The rules official was Fred Ridley. Content that he knew the rule, Eager continued putting and told Ridley to check with another official. Ridley returned moments later and acknowledged he was mistaken. The issue was resolved, but the hard feelings would endure. In 2013, Eager would tell Golf Digest, "In my view, Ridley's knowledge of the rules of golf was and is suspect." Back to Augusta. Fred Ridley was staring at a text message accusing the best player in the world of breaking a rule at the tournament he was chairman of. With Tiger due to finish imminently, Ridley had a decision to make. It was not the first noteworthy rules decision to be made at Augusta on that Friday. Rewind back 5 hours and Chinese amateur Guan Tianlang was walking down the 17th fairway at Augusta alongside former champion Ben Crenshaw and fellow teenager Matteo Manassero. Tianlang was 2 over for the day, but on course to become the youngest player in men's golf history to make the cut in a major. Upon finishing the hole, he was met by rules official John Paramore, who informed him that he was being assessed a 1-shot penalty for slow play, due to taking too long to hit his approach on the penultimate hole. Tianlang would make the cut, but news of the rules decision made waves in the media center and around the golfing world. Even Crenshaw would say after his round, "This isn't going to wind up pretty," suggesting Augusta National may receive some criticism for a rules decision made that day. Well, things were about to get even messier. It was 7:10 p.m. at Augusta National, and Tiger Woods was walking from the 18th green to the scoring area in the clubhouse. "I fully expected to see a half dozen guys in green jackets intercept Tiger as he walked off the 18th green," said Eager, "but there were none. Ridley had reviewed the incident and didn't feel there was a rules violation." Woods, fresh off signing for a 71, immediately went on TV with ESPN's Tom Rinaldi to give his assessment of the day. This, unfortunately for Woods, is where the story takes its second turn.
Felt like it was a pretty good shot. I had 87 yards, and it was just a slight holding cut, 60 off that one, and I thought it was a good one.
When you see it hit the stick and react the way it does and roll into the water to the degree you can share it, what's going through your mind?
Well, it's pretty... So, looking like I'm making birdie, now I got to really struggle and grind to just not drop, 2 shots. So, I looked over the drop area. It wasn't very good. It was into the grain, tough shot. So I went back to where I was and actually took 2 yards, further back and tried to hit my shot another 2 yards off of what I felt like I hit it.
4 words in the middle of Tiger's answer would change everything. 2 yards further back.
2 yards, further back.
2 yards, further back. 2 yards, further back.
As discussed earlier, Rule 26 says a player can drop as close as possible to the spot from which the original ball was played. 2 yards is close, but not as close as possible. Despite the interview, Woods made his way home for the night to prepare for a weekend charge, just 4 shots back of the lead. Meanwhile, back at the course, the CBS crew were recording highlights of the second round. Jim Nantz and David Feherty were in the booth, voicing over the best of the action from Friday. CBS's producer, Bob Mansbach, approached Nantz and Feherty and told them he was hearing Twitter is abuzz about Tiger and a possible rules violation on the 15th hole. He asked them if they knew anything about it. Neither had. They rewatched the footage, and Feherty said immediately that there was something there. They re-recorded the show with a conversation around the drop, and then Nantz called Ridley. Nantz explained Tiger's interview and what was being said. Ridley said he would look into it, and at midnight on Friday night, he returned to Augusta National to further review the footage and listen to Tiger's post-round interview. Ridley watched, listened, and agreed. There was more to the story now. He called Tiger's manager, Mark Steinberg, and requested that the world number 1 come to the course early on Saturday to discuss the drop. Steinberg sent a text to Tiger, who was asleep, and both returned to the club at 8 a.m. After a short discussion with Tiger, Ridley and the team made the decision and penalized Woods a further 2 shots for taking an illegal drop, changing his bogey to a triple bogey and his 71 to a 73. As Tiger returned home to prepare for his 3rd round, golf media exploded as golf fans tuned in early for Masters Saturday. Brandel Chambly and Nick Faldo were live on Golf Channel early and didn't hold back on their opinion that Tiger should have either been disqualified or he should withdraw. Chambly referenced the 1925 U.S. Open and Bobby Jones. That year, the U.S. Open was at Worcester Country Club in Massachusetts, and reigning U.S. Amateur champion Bobby Jones was 23 years old and the favorite to win. On the 11th hole of his opening round, Jones addressed his ball in the rough and saw the ball move slightly. He knew the rule and acknowledged his punishment. No one else saw the ball move, and officials even asked him whether he was sure. He was sure and took his 1-shot penalty. Come the end of the tournament, Jones would be 1 shot short of lifting the trophy, resulting in a playoff between him and Scotland's Willie McFarlane. They would play a 36-hole playoff, and ultimately Jones lost, again by a single shot. When praised afterwards for his honesty and integrity, Jones would say, "You might as well praise me for not robbing a bank." Back at Augusta, Ridley and tournament officials sent out a statement explaining Tiger's punishment. The subsequent information provided by the player's interview after he had completed play warranted further review and discussion with him this morning. After meeting with the player, it was determined that he had violated Rule 26, and he was assessed a 2-stroke penalty. The decision split many in the golfing world. Graham McDowell tweeted, "Take the fact that it was Tiger out of the equation, and it is a fair ruling." Shane Lowry, on the other hand, posted, "This is a joke. In my opinion, anyone else would have been DQ'd. When you sign for the wrong score, that's what's supposed to happen." Chambly would say live on air that if Tiger doesn't disqualify himself, this will cast a dark shadow over his entire career. Skip forward 24 hours, and Tiger carded a back 9 33 on Sunday to finish the 2013 Masters at 5 under par. 4 shots back from a playoff alongside Adam Scott and Angel Cabrera. Did the width of the flagstick prevent Tiger from winning the green jacket? Did Augusta correctly apply the rules of the game? Did Tiger do the right thing in playing on the weekend? How many majors would Tiger have won had he won at Augusta in 2013? We may never know the answers, but we do now know what to do when you find the water on the 15th hole.